I started working with wood as part of therapy after my near-death motorcycle accident to regain some use of my hands. And then after being on disability, after being diagnosed with cancer in 2001, God provided this as a way of not only using it for therapy for my fine motor skills, but also means of income for my family now that I was on disability leave. But the greatest thing of all is, despite those two obvious ways that God was using woodworking, He also made it a platform for me to still be involved in ministry. And that's one of the most exciting things about doing woodworking and doing craft shows. Whenever I'm doing a demonstration at a craft show, it's really easy to make the applications from woodworking into the spiritual life. I was talking recently at a craft show here in Amarillo, and I was making some applications there to the spiritual life. And I began by mounting a piece of wood that's on the lathe right now. This started out as a 2 by 2 by 2 1/4 piece of wood, maple, and of course you know maple's from the United States. And I turned it down in the shape of an egg, and then I will build it out later. I'll put something in the middle of it to make my eggs a little bit special, much like the Fabergé eggs are special because of the gold and diamonds and precious jewels on the outside of them. I was working with this wood, and at this demonstration recently, I came to a place in the wood where I needed to have some more finish and a smoother finish to my project. Then as I continued, I began saying to the people gathered in front of me that oftentimes, if we could think of ourselves as the project, as the wood, and God being the master craftsman, taking the steps He needed to finish His work in us so that we could become the end result. He knew what He desired to make of us. He knows what He still desires to make of us. So He will use the processes necessary to get us to the point we need to be. I needed to have it a certain finish, and I knew that a particular grit of sandpaper would not achieve the needed result. So I had to choose the grit paper that I needed to get to where I needed it to be. And oftentimes in our own lives, I've seen that I'll compare my life to someone else's life, and I'm thinking, God is really hard on me about something, particular issue, and I see another one of my friends who, it appears to me that God is being very light, if you will, on them, on that same issue. And then it became clear to me, just like I do work with the wood, God does the same things to us. He does the needed step necessary to get us to where we need to be. You see, if I use the wrong grit, I wouldn't achieve the end result where I need for this egg to be. In the same way with God working on us, He doesn't do what's easiest or what would be less harmful or more comfortable for us. He uses what we need to at the time to get us to that place we need to be, because He knows the finished product. That's one of the things that woodworking has taught me, and that's one of the things that I enjoy the most about doing woodworking and doing demonstrations before people at shows or in small groups. Let me finish this egg now. Now going forth, carrying this analogy completely through, I've gone through the grits, 5 different grits of sandpaper and a grit of steel wool. And now I need to put some sealer on there to seal in the work that's already been done. And isn't that what the Holy Spirit does on us? God sends His Spirit, His perfecting work in our lives to perfect and to seal what He's begun in us. And that reminds me of the Word which says, He who began a good work in you will be faithful to complete it to the very end. And that reminds me of the presence and the power and the beauty of the Holy Spirit. That God starts His work, but He doesn't just leave it open and exposed. He puts a sealer on it, just like I'm fixing to do to this egg. Another way of illustrating God's work through woodworking that I do at shows is when I'm finishing this egg, I illustrate by parallel a comparison to the Fabergé egg, which most people have heard of, are very unique and very exquisite. I think it's a piece of porcelain that is studded or decorated with jewels and diamonds and very high, exquisite, very pricey gems on the outside. And I talk about how God in the Old Testament, when the children of Israel were looking for a new king, they began looking and focusing on the outside appearances of man, and then God reminds them that He looks at the inside of the man, just like instead of the outside, like they were looking at. And in the same way, I decorate the inside of this egg. I know you're not going to be able to see it through this camera I take right now, but the inside of this egg has a kaleidoscope in it now, a beautiful piece of artwork on the inside of it, reminding me that the beauty of each of us is on the inside of us, something that the world cannot take away, something that, for me, traumatic brain injury did not take away, something that cancer did not take away, something that some other personal struggles and trials did not take away. And woodworking now is a way for me to continue ministry, even though I'm not under full-time appointment with the United Methodist Church. God provides this way as a way for me to still be involved in ministry. And that's, I hope that's an encouragement to you as you listen to this, and I hope that you are reminded that God still works with us, even with what man would deem disabilities or inabilities, unable to do things. God still sees on the inside of man, and He knows the heart of a man, and He knows what He can do with a man.